After we completed the importing of the data and the transformations and calculating our fields, let's start looking at Tableau and the different areas of Tableau. Tableau has worksheets, which is where we create our visualizations. You can then combine many worksheets into dashboards, and then you can create stories using worksheets and dashboards. And stories are a way of explaining an analysis step by step, walking someone through the different analysis you have performed. But we're going to be focusing right now on worksheets. So we have our dimensions on the top left here and our measures here below that. Dimensions are things that we're aggregating by. So if we want to group by something, pick a dimension. Whatever it is we want to then sum up or average or take the maximum of, or whatever it is that we want to do some sort of calculation on is our measures. So this is what we're grouping on, and this is what we're aggregating, the summing, the averaging, and so forth. So for example, I could take site code here. I can drag that onto columns, and then look at maybe purchases in rows here. So when I drop site code on columns, I'm going to get one column for each site code. So each site has its own column. And what I'm going to show in each column, I'm going to show all the sum of purchases. So basically I'm grouping by site code and summing purchases. And of course I can change, so I don't sum, I can say average, median, count, minimum, maximum, and so forth. So this is basically a SQL statement running behind the scenes. And rather than getting a table as output from the SQL statement, I'm getting a visualization. And I can drag and drop things here, just like kind of like I do a pivot table, but instead of table I get the visualization. And the reason why we often call this interactive data visualization is because I can drag and drop and change my visualizations based on pills I drag into the visualizations. I can quickly understand my data and look at my data and analyze my data visually by just dragging and dropping. So let's say I want to add another dimension here. So let's go ahead and add transaction days. I want to see for each state, I want to see the sum of purchases over time. So I could drag transaction date onto rows. What I'm getting now is I'm getting in 2012, what was total purchases or sum of purchases in California, Florida, 2013 and so forth. That's not all that helpful, so let's go ahead and put that up here instead. Okay, that's looking a little bit more interesting. So now I'm getting over time for each state. How has sum of purchases changed? What about if I drag this down here? Okay, so now I'm getting a row. Now I have a different state instead. But instead of getting these annually, I can click on this plus sign. So now for each year, I'm also adding quarters. But I can also click on this little arrow here and pull down this menu. And now I can change from to quarter, for example. So when I'm selecting year here, it's going to group by each year. If I select quarter, it's going to group by quarter. There's a quarter one in 2014, there's one in 2015, and so forth. I'm getting for all the different quarters what's the sum of purchases for each site. Not very useful, but that's what it does. Instead of that, if I want to get quarter for a specific year, I can go down into these selections, a quarter for a specific year, month for a specific year, for example. So now each of the points here is a month in a specific year that I'm grouping by. So I'm getting monthly total purchases over time for each site.